DNVR Avalanche pregame show live from the Toyota Lounge, powered from your Front Range Toyota dealerships. We've got Bailey, we've got Rudo. The Avs are on the Segababa, taking on the New Jersey Devils, one of the best teams in the NHL. The Avs you can put in that category too, though. So in theory, it should be a heavyweight matchup, but the Avs tired, New Jersey rested. My gut just does not have a good feeling about this one, Bailey. Can the Avs prove me wrong? Can they continue their high quality play on second games and back to backs?
I'm hoping so. That's the fingers crossed way of thinking. I am hoping that they were saving it, like just with how good yesterday looked in some areas. I'm hoping a lot of that can carry forward and through, because they were not happy with that result. But
they should be.
I think the big thing is going to be Trent Miner, who officially will be starting.
Getting the start. A real start.
Yes.
For Trent Miner. I just started him the other way around, but also I'm not mad at it. I'm over it. Miner's getting this one at least.
There's something, I think, to be said about having a fresh set of pads in net. I think for the Avalanche, a guy who is rested and has, there's I think that trust there, just given how he performed against Carolina, that if I'm the Avalanche, I'm like, okay, our main guy's getting some rest, at least until our main guy comes back. So I think that's something to look positively at for this game.
Well, let's talk about positives versus negatives, because you alluded to it a little bit there. Is it more important for the Avs to stick to those things that were working well, or is it more important for them to clean up the negative things that they had from last game? And I know, obviously, in a perfect world, the answer is both, but you don't get to say both this time.
No.
You have to pick one.
No, I think if there's something more important to take away from that game, it was the messy parts.
Okay.
Because we've seen throughout the season so far that they are a dominant team. They can play good hockey in most spurts, and that's kind of what we saw during yesterday's game. Just the chances weren't going in the back of the net that they were creating. I'd like to see them, again, we talked a little bit about creativity yesterday. I'd like to see them get more creative with their chances in some ways, but for the most part, those messy parts really are the biggest thing that I think they need to focus on. Clean that up, and you've got a good hockey game against a really good team.
I hope so. I hope they can keep it clean enough to be competitive here, get themselves off on the right foot. Look, New Jersey, super high-octane team, super capable of scoring today. It's a matinee, it's a Segababa, it's all these context things. Is there any hope for this being a contained game, or are we about to see something wild?
I'm more so leaning toward the wild side of things, just because it is a back-to-back, the second part of it. And they are really two really good teams.
They are.
And that's where I kind of sit, this is maybe potentially what we see is a fun matchup down the road in an ideal maybe world in a Stanley Cup final. What it could potentially turn into. We're getting a taste of what the East is made of. I'm expecting wild, crazy things to happen here.
Is there a little extra juice here? And I kind of glossed over this last game. We didn't really talk about it, but the Avs did kind of throw down at the end of that game after they lost. MacKinnon was throwing some hands. There was a big... you
don't see that very often.
He's not one to do that. Is there a little bit of extra emotional energy then with the Avs, if anything, probably upset with themselves more than other outside factors, but can we see that have an impact today?
I would think so. Okay. I'm of two minds, I think, with that. I think while the upset energy is something that they should take into this game, that should be taken with a grain of salt. Because there is something to be said about emotional games being messier ones sometimes. And that's a hole I don't want them to get caught in. And that's where, some hunger can be a good thing in moderation. That's the saying, right? Is everything in moderation. I think taking some of that into this game, being unhappy with how they ended last game, carrying some of that into New Jersey is healthy. I think
should be,
but ideally, but letting that get the best of them, letting that be front and center, won't bode well for, I think, good hockey for them.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of angles to look at or avenues to take here, because we can have realistic expectations. Mm-hmm. The Avs are likely going to burn their legs out a little bit in this game. Mm-hmm. You're expecting that. You're going to need some level of a quality start to give yourself a chance in this one. Mm-hmm. But also, the Avs could just play an A game and win. This is not... I do wonder if sometimes we make too much of the Segababas, and don't get me wrong, they do matter. Mm-hmm. The human body can only be so athletic, even the most athletic players in the world. But also, they're professional hockey players. It's not like they're me getting up off the couch trying to play kickball. They do this for a living.
Right.
Do we maybe read too much into that? Or do the Avs deserve all that credit for winning so many Segababos?
I think it more boils down to the professional side of things. As much as, I don't know. I think some of it can come from, systematically where they're putting their energy. And maybe some of that comes from Bednar and just being like, hey, we want to make sure energy is not all being expended during this first game. And maybe that's some sort of mental game that they play with themselves and expending a little bit more of that in the second game versus a first.
Sure.
But I think a lot of that, it comes from being a professional athlete and being used to this as much as they are. And in a situation, I mean, this is the first one we're running into this season. There's a lot more where that came from this season. And I think that's also part of it as well, is knowing that they do this for a living. They've got to be able to, I don't know, elongate that.
I don't know if I'm grasping at straws here or throwing up realistic reasons for the Avs to get themselves up for a hockey game, but with Minor in net, is there a little bit of a sense that the Avs feel like they owe that guy a win? He comes in, he ends up being the goalie of record against Carolina, where he doesn't give up a real goal. The Avs can't score a single one in the shootout for him. Obviously, he's rookie, inexperienced. Can the Avs find that little extra edge to get up for their goalie?
I think it can be multiple things here, because let's not forget this was a guy who unfortunately got some starts against some better teams last season.
True.
And did
By
not
necessity,
perform as well. And yes, he comes up and plays an insane game against Carolina, but at the same time, this is an inexperienced goaltender. And I think that's something that's going to be living in their minds as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing a bit more of a heavy defensive game from the Avs this season, not this season, in this game, just with that in mind. That's not to say that a Nathan MacKinnon and Martin just can't go.
They only know how to play one way.
Right. And we see little defensive spurts from these guys every now and again. But I think for the most part, you see a team that's going to come in and protect their goaltender at all costs.
I do worry sometimes that they overly exert themselves, maybe try and make desperation defensive plays that they shouldn't at times when you get into that mindset. But also, if they do it effectively, cool.
Yeah.
If you want to give Trent Minor an 18-shot game tonight, I'm down.
Yeah. The way I don't know. Like, you want to be confident in your goaltender, right?
Yeah.
You want to believe and feel confident that they can make the necessary saves. That's some of what Scott Wedgwood, I think, was lacking in last game. But you see him come in and make those incredible saves in the second period. I want that for Trent Minor so badly. But, again, at the same time, I would like to see a more defensive game. If we can test Minor as little as possible in this, I'm happy with the outcome.
Yep.
I don't know.
Agree. There is no shortage of us talking about what we want on the podcasts, our pre-games, our watch-alongs. You want the power play to score more. You want the second line to score more. You want those egregious mistakes to go away. But what is the Venn diagram between want and need here? Are we talking about a flat circle, or is there some things that are maybe more necessary and some things that are luxuries?
What I think is hilarious coming out of some of these wants and needs is that a lot of what we want, the Avalanche are already confident that they have.
It's true.
So, I mean, you hear Nathan MacKinnon talking about the power play early on in the season. I guess they don't know what a good power play looks like. And maybe that's just us having higher expectations than what they have already set for themselves. But I don't know. There's a bit of a Venn diagram here. I think it is very even. I think a lot of what they feel like they need to work on is a lot different maybe from what we have kind of in our minds, I would say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, winning cures all ailments, right?
Oh, yes.
If you win a game, you don't care if it's ugly, you don't care if it's pretty, you don't care if it's power play goals, you don't care if it's shorthanded goal. However you get to a W is what you need.
Right.
So let's be honest, I love nitpicking. I do it all the time on the show. But I don't.
That's what we do a lot.
I don't
here.
want to nitpick too much if the Avs are finding ways to win, and that's what they need to get back to. They've lost 3 in a row. That blow is lessened significantly because two of those are in overtime. So you can live with a little bit of that. But if you zoom out a little bit and look at the big picture, you're sitting at 13 points through 9 games. Tonight's 2 points are the difference between 13 and 15 points in your first 10-game stretch. 15 points, that's a 750 points percentage. You feel real good. 13 points, that's not more than 600. I'm not going to do the exact math because math on air, don't do it.
There's a reason I didn't major in math.
Even there, you feel fine. Like, you feel like that's a good, not great stretch. But it will feel like an opportunity slipped through your fingers if you don't get that win today.
No, and that's I think some of what's going to fuel this. And I mean, we talk a little bit about best case scenarios. This game is not that. I think for the Avalanche,
it is
because
not.
You are playing one of the best teams in the league currently. A team that has had a big bounce back considering how last season kind of went for them as well, and ideally, the hope and the want is to come out of this with a win. But the reality is this is also not the only time you're going to see a top team in the league too. And there's something to be said about that as well. Yes, this is the first 10-game stretch. And there's a lot of hockey left in this season to bounce back from that. And if this is the stretch where they're maybe experimenting and losing some more games, I'm not wholeheartedly upset with that.
Yeah, I've talked about that a little bit too on my reviews. Some of the mistakes we're seeing from the Avs or some of these losses or the Carolina game where they give up 4 goals in the first period. If you're doing that in the first 10 games of the season, it does not feel as bad if you're doing that at game 40.
Yep.
Game 50. You have to have at least a little bit of grace in the early part of the season as things get up and running, things start clicking or not clicking. I think the Carolina game, a great example is the Landeskog turnover in that game where it's obviously bad. You can't sit there and say that's okay. But if that happens at game 40, you're saying, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Your system should be ingrained fully, even for a guy like a Brent Burns who is maybe new to the system and the team. If you're making that type of error at game 40, you're going, we have major problems. If you're making that type of error at game 8, you're going, okay, there's something we need to fix.
Right. The way that I look at it is that 10-game stretch is you're setting up the foundation for what you want to be your narrative for this upcoming season. Nothing is set in stone here yet. That starts happening once you get to game 20, to game 25, 30.
Yep.
And that's when it's why I'm so hesitant on ringing as many alarm bells as I am for the power play.
Yep.
For some of those breakdowns that we're seeing, just because it is still really, really early in the season. They have time to improve on this and figure out, okay, what kind of changes are we needing to make in order to make this an effective part of our system.
The Avs haven't had that statement win yet, really. They've had some good wins, at times comfortable, but especially against some of these top teams. They couldn't beat Dallas. They couldn't beat Carolina. I don't want to oversell it because I do think the comeback in Carolina is a bit of a statement in itself, even if they didn't manage to win that game. But it's another opportunity to have a statement win. One of the best teams in the league. You're on a Segababa. A win tonight feels like it would have a little bit of extra juice if the Avs can find a way to get to one. And I don't know how much any single win is really by itself standing up to that narrative that you're talking about the Avs trying to build. That is going to be the course of these 20 games together. But it would be nice to have what feels like a cornerstone win in that package.
I think that's one of the things you highlight as you're trying to build that narrative too, is that you're able to do this against a top team. Again, we've seen some of that more dominant play against maybe what we wouldn't consider better teams.
Yeah.
But being able to get this against a team like the Devils, I think would be, that's your gold star.
Yep.
Right? On the study guide, I guess is what I'll call
Sure.
this 10,
The
20
rubric?
game the rubric, yeah. For what they're trying to set up. And that's what I think the Avs can go back and look at in 30 games, be like, no, let's look at all the good things we did here. And that goes to building that foundation. That goes to setting things in stone. That I think that would be a great thing for them to get here early on.
So let's talk about the sneaky problem the Avs cannot have tonight if they want to give themselves a real opportunity to win. Second and third period so far this season, the Avs are plus 13. They are dominating the actual goals scored in the last 40 minutes of games. In the first period, they're minus 4. Their first period has been their worst. No need to get into mechanics. Just on the scoreboard, the first period has been their worst period by a lot so far this season. And we can sit here on the couch and say the Avs got to figure out how to start on time and all of this, but at what point do they need to shift their mindset? Because they have clearly proven they can play elite hockey. Even in the first periods, they can play elite hockey. But how do they actually win the first period?
It's hard to say, especially with these early starts.
Yep.
I think that's something I'd like to see in this game, but I'm not exactly expecting, unfortunately. Yep. But it does come down to getting your legs under you early. I don't know as though there's much more to it than that for me. There's also something to be said about lectures during intermissions that I'm sure maybe they're not getting to start out the game. And
some fire might be in that locker room at times.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially knowing some of the voices in there.
Yeah.
But it does, you kind of said it, go into mindset.
Yep.
And that full 60 effort, the knowing what you're up against early. And I think also thinking back to last season and how horribly that start was last season and not being able to find early starts. You don't want to get yourself in that hole again.
Yeah, the Avs aren't really flirting with danger to start that bad as far as the first 10 is concerned. But you just can't let these slides extend, right? You start losing 4 or 5, 6 games in a row, things start to become, I don't want to say rough. They're professionals. They've been through skids before, but the vibe in the locker room starts to change when you're on losing streaks. And for the most part, the start of this year, the vibes have been very good for the Avalanche. Even as frustrating as last game was, there's a lot of good things you can take out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And you want that to continue. You want the Avs to show that the process has to convert to wins. And they're 5-1-3. It's not like they're struggling to find wins, but you don't want to let any cracks start to show.
No, and that's what I think they start getting into here in the next maybe 5 games. Is I don't think they're looking at this last few game stretch and being happy with any of it. Yes, there's something to be said about getting a point out of it, but losses are still losses. And I can't imagine that they're in that room satisfied with any of those so far. So there is something to be said about that. And, you know, some of those cracks are already, I think, starting.
Yeah.
And there's only so much tape and glue.
Don't let them become caverns, though.
Right. That's where I start to get into. I hope that's the mindset they're going into this game with, is that crack is already there.
Yep.
Don't let it keep freezing and thawing. We don't want it to get any bigger. I don't think they want it to get any bigger, and get on top of it early.
Yeah, I really do think that's the key to success, but, you know, it's the Avs and a Segababa. They could trail by 5 and come back and win. Anything is possible, especially.
Again, my expectations are not high.
They are not.
So.
I'm not gonna pretend like I'm feeling confident, but
No.
I would love to be proven wrong on that front. So we'll see.
That's always a fun statement to go into a game with, is we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, that's all we'll ever do. Unless you play for the team, all you can do is watch, right?
Right. So I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
I think this is an interesting one to keep an eye on, though. Again, we talk about, you know, preferences and where to see games. I will say I'm not thrilled about getting New Jersey out of the way this early.
Yeah, I would. You always want to see the best teams in the league go at each other when they're at their best. In the first 10 games of the season, no one's at their best, really. Yeah. I would also like to see the Avs be a little bit healthier, but they're not really that injured, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
A fun little stat posted by Jay Fresh today. For as good as the Avs offense has been, they're actually 6 goals below what they're expected to have scored so far.
Yeah.
So there is some actual underlying agreement that, and depending on how you want to look at it, either the Avs deserve to have a handful more goals or that their finishing has not been good enough. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking the positive side of that. I'm looking at that as encouraging in the sense of if the Avs keep doing what they're doing, the goals will fall. Pucks will start going in a bit easier for them. That would be nice if it started today.
Yeah. I'm not, again, expectations are not high, but I feel like there's both positive and negative to that to look at. I think the Avs are creating chances, and that's what you want to see. But it comes down to that issue we've talked about multiple times in finishing.
Yep.
And that full stop needs to be better.
Well, who's going to make it better, Bailey? We'll bust out the crystal ball. Give me a name, give me a score. What do you got for this one?
Give me 3-2.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Nichushkin today.
All right. I like the pick. He really good again the other night, I thought. On a second line that I didn't love, he was really good.
Yeah.
Got promoted to the first line, kind of. But
sort of. But that whole lineup was kind of a jumble by the end of it.
It was a mess. I like the player pick. I'm going wild. I'm going 6-5.
Whoa.
I think Goalpalooza is coming.
Okay.
And this is more of a wish than an actual pick, but I'm going Brock Nelson.
Okay, yeah, he finally starts to pick it up.
I want it to break out for Brock. I know it's in there. The Avs just have to find it because that squarely falls in the need for the Avs. They need Brock Nelson to produce, and hopefully tonight is the night.
There's a healthy mix of want and need there.
Yeah, for sure. While I don't need my bets to hit, I would like them to. So let's check out my pregame picks presented by Bet365, where things are never ordinary. I took the over. I feel like you bet on extremes in matinee games. This game is either going to be like 1-0 or high scoring.
Yeah.
That's what it always feels like. I did take the Avs to win the first. I really do think that is a huge key in Segababas. It's no secret that it's easier to play from ahead than behind when you have tired legs. And then the Nelson goal is plus 320. You can get pretty good money if you think Nelson's going to find the back of the net. There are some other good options too. I think Landy was like plus 450.
Okay.
If you
would be nice.
Feel like that second line can get on the board, there's some good money to be had out there for a matinee game where anything can happen.
We have a lot of faith in the second line today.
Again, I don't know if it's faith or wishing, but one of the two.
Both can be true, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll have more faith once they score one.
Yes.
That isn't Val Nichushkin being awesome.
Yeah.
But
Val Nichushkin cannot carry that line forever.
I mean, maybe he can, but he the line can't be anchors. They got to at least be functional. Not that they really haven't been that bad mechanically, but you got to score.
Yep.
All right. On that note, if you do want to gamble with Bet365, use the DNVR 365 code and make sure you're 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER today. Bailey, I've never been a guy that really believes in like head coaches calling out their teams to the media or something like that. Are we even in the realm of that with the Avs right now? Like, what would it take for Bednar to actually call out his team that they need to be better?
There's a level of try that needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think for the most part, in every single game the Avs have played this season, Bednar's seen at least some level of try and effort from his team.
Yeah.
I think the moment that goes away for a full 60 is when you don't see happy Bednar. And
it's hard to tell when Bednar is happy ever, to be fair. But
you've seen him in moments.
Yeah.
It
few and
takes
far between.
Yeah. No, I think we see monotone Bednar a lot more than we see either happy Bednar or mad Bednar. I think we see mad Bednar a lot more than we see happy Bednar, though.
Yeah,
and it takes a guy getting injured or the team playing like crap for it to come out. But
he just hides his happiness well, I think. He's happier than people think.
But yeah, that's where it comes from for me, is if you see New Jersey pull the shutout tonight. That's maybe where we see
there could be some anger.
Yeah, you see teams pulling shutouts, and that I don't think we're anywhere close to that level yet, though. Just because, again, we have seen at least some form of a dominant Avalanche team throughout every single game.
You say that, and the Avs will go out and put 50 shots
I know,
on
I
net
hate
and
that
still
I'm-
get shut out.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's like, well, I can't even be mad.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I hate putting things into the ether. But yeah, no, that's where I'm at. A level of effort needs to go away entirely for me to be like, okay, Bednar, there's something that needs to happen here.
He's always been a process guy.
Yes.
And you got to work through it sometimes. I'll be the hater, though.
Okay.
We can't affect the game. I can say shut out 100 times. It won't make a difference. The Avs are going to go out there and play how they're going to play.
So you were not a superstitious
Not
guy.
even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Final thoughts on this one, Bailey, before we dive in, and what will be will be.
I can't say that I have much. I'd like to not see a wild game, but that's
too.
about where I'm at.
But
I think that's where my thoughts kind of skid.
Statement ends at I would like to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
so.
we're going to, maybe.
Yeah. So, but it is a matinee game.
It
is an early one. It's first back-to-back of the season, and I don't know. I won't know where to put my expectations, I think, until after this one's over.
I think that is a fair statement. This game will do a good amount of dictating about how you feel. And unless they completely struggle tonight, I don't think you're going to be in a situation where you feel bad about this team. But you could come out of this team feeling great about this team or feeling just okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's coming whether we like it or not. So we're going to wrap up this pregame show. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Come join us on the watch along going live in just a couple of minutes, or at very least join the postgame where we'll break it all down for you. This has been the DNVR Avalanche pregame show, and we'll see you in a few.
We all silly like the mayor.